from Fire Within Coaching. Thanks for joining us for another episode of What Lights Your Fire. We're here with Nicole Hastings. Hey, Nicole, how are you?
Hey Dee, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm really glad to have you here because I feel like you have a really powerful story. And I definitely think that our viewers could really benefit from it.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what lights your fire.
Well, my name is Nicole Hastings. I'm actually a habit-focused fitness coach for women. Um, and I got started a little over a year ago with my own business, but it all really stemmed from me hitting my own personal rock bottom. And it was 2020 when that happened. I spent many years in a self-destructive phase, highs, lows, all of the above. And, I came to a place where I was at my emotional bottom. I was at the lowest I've ever felt about myself. I was abusing alcohol and drugs for a long period of time. And, I just got to a place where I had to make a decision.
Right.
I did not want to live like that anymore. And, from there, I just opened up, and regardless of what was going to happen, I had to change my life. So that's really where I changed my life personally. And then I saw a window because I saw in other women what I had in myself, and that was that self-destructive behavior and the self-sabotage. And I found out how to change my life through my health habits. And now I teach other women to do the same.
So I love that so much for a lot of different reasons. So the first reason is because women, I mean, humans in general, but especially women, we really like to self-sabotage, especially when things get bad. Because you're already in a bad situation and, we already have all these biases and everything else. And then, you know, like it's so overwhelming having everything coming at you and kind of closing in.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you can't even see the light in order to dig yourself out. So having someone that has been there and has seen that light, has dug out and is now shining, I mean, I think that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing is when we're in that place, when we're in that bottom and we can't see our way out, as you described,
Mhm.
we don't realize that all we have to do is take one single step. We're so caught up in the idea of how far we have to go and like how
Right.
overwhelming everything is. And there's a million different steps that we should take, right? That we should.
Should.
Um, but honestly, like that first step, just that step, whether it's asking for help or whether it's just one small thing that you can do in the direction of where you really want to go, that's what you need to make a start. You don't need everything figured out.
Right. That first step's going to look different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, I know for myself, I've been very open and candid about my own mental health struggles. And some days I don't even want to get out of bed. So when I do get out of bed, that's a big deal for me. So someone that does struggle with mental health on top of, any other life that's going on, have to be, you have to be able to stop and say, it's okay that I only made it one step. It's
Yeah.
okay. I have enough compassion for myself to know that maybe tomorrow I'll do two steps, maybe the next day, it doesn't matter. But having that self-compassion as women, I feel like that lacks a lot.
Yeah, it does. It does. Absolutely. Self-compassion is one of the hardest things to have. The hardest thing. That and forgiveness. Like we
Yeah.
want to hold ourselves to the fire. We want to keep punishing ourselves because of the mistakes we made. We want to hold ourselves in that guilt and shame. On the other side of that guilt and shame is a beautiful life. You have plenty of opportunity out there. It's just getting past that. It's getting over ourselves, getting out of our own way, and,
Right.
and really building the version of ourselves that we know what we can be,
Right.
that has been pushed down to the bottom by all of the different things that we've
Right.
come across in our life that we just piled on top of.
Yeah, and you're so right, because I was thinking about, I had a 12-year journey where I did, school and got my master's degree. I also worked full time. I had baby, like I had all these things happen, and I, had postpartum depression. I didn't have it addressed. I just said, nope, I'm just gonna go, because that's right. Like mental health then still wasn't getting the very much exposure that it needs, right? So, and that's really hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's shining a light on things and knowing that it's okay to put our needs first, to put
Yeah,
ourselves first, instead of continuing to put it on the back burner. Because the longer that we continue to put it on the back burner and push through things or say I'll deal with it
yeah,
tomorrow, the bigger it's going to become. The
right.
bigger and the harder it's going to become
Yeah,
to flip that switch. You know what I mean? Like it's just asking for help may sound so like, oh, it's so simple. It is probably the hardest
it's not.
thing to do when you're in that situation. And especially when you grew up, I don't know about you, but when I grew up, I it was a sign of weakness asking for help. You
Yep,
better figure this out on your own, kid, you
yep,
know? So
yep.
now it's like, all right, so what you're telling me is if I just ask for help, if I just go in that direction of something that I need, I'm going to get what I need. But that's the hardest part. That's that first step. We talked about first steps. That's
Yep,
that first step is just recognizing, okay, I can't do this alone. Like I need some kind of help, regardless if it's mental help,
right,
if it's help on your fitness journey, whatever it is.
right.
There are people that want to help. Regardless of what you have going on, regardless of what you need help with, there is always somebody willing to help. You just have to be willing
Mhm.
to ask for that help and push your ego aside because that's a big one.
Oh,
Yeah.
girl, ego. I mean, that gets you.
Yeah.
It really does. And when I first heard of that, I didn't really know. I was like, well, what does that really mean? And then I said a statement. I was like, oh, this happened because of, this thing that I did. And then I thought about it. I was like, I'm sort of giving myself a lot of power there, that saying that I
Mhm.
have, like, I can control all these external events. And that's just not true. Because the only thing you
Mm-mm.
can control is yourself.
Yes. Learning that is one of the biggest pieces too. It's
Yeah.
one of the biggest pieces because we want so badly to be blame things on other people, other things,
Yeah.
like I'm doing this because of that. Truth is, once you master controlling yourself and the things in your control, everything else gets
Well,
easier.
yeah.
You can
Yeah.
have things thrown at you. You can have things thrown at you, and it's almost like they bounce off of you
Right.
because you're in that practice. You're in that state of mind, that practice, that peace, that comfort that you have with yourself, knowing that you can make a decision that's
Right.
best for you and how to keep yourself safe in a better way, a healthier way.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's all, being human is so difficult. It's complex. It's not easy. It comes with, emotions, and it comes with all the messy stuff. But the messy stuff, I think, is where the good stuff is, right? Like the messy stuff is what shapes us and helps us to move on. And we could stay in that messy stuff, in that rock bottom, or we can choose to just forgive ourselves, like you said, forgive
Yeah.
ourselves for anything that we feel that we've done, and get rid of that shame, get rid of that guilt, because it's not
Yeah.
serving you well. It's not serving
No.
you.
Mm-mm. Not at all. And forgiveness, the self-compassion and the forgiveness with yourself,
Mhm.
it's not just about so you can move forward, it's so you can forgive others easily
Yeah.
too. When you learn how to forgive yourself, you can forgive others
Yeah.
quickly too because everybody's a human,
Right.
you know? Like people don't read each other's minds. Like everybody's perspective is not the same. Like
Right.
there's going to be differences, And there's ways to go about situations where you can communicate to where,
Right.
maybe that forgiveness is much easier than it is to hold on to something
Right.
and to let it stew inside of you. And then that alters how you feel about yourself. Because then you're putting that power into somebody else,
There it is. Yep.
Yeah. That power is yours. That power is yours. And whatever higher power you have,
Yeah.
whatever you believe in, those are your power sources. That is it. It is not for you to be putting it in other people, other
Right.
places, other things. That is just going to take your self-worth down to the dumps.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also like, it's an independence thing too. Like, you also want to know as a person that you're even able to do it. Like, if you're someone who has always been surrounded by, we'll just say, negative people, that negativity is going to rub off on you, because that's what you're used to, that's what you see every day. So are you going to let that negativity kind of change who you are? Or are you going to try to be healthier? But if you don't know how to be healthier and you don't know how to deal with your conflicts and communicate with people, and that's where I think the magic is knowing yourself and knowing what you're going to give and what you're going to receive pretty much, and what you want to put out there, and knowing too that I might forgive myself and I may forgive you, but that doesn't mean that you are going to accept my forgiveness. And I
Right.
need to be okay with that as well.
Yeah. Yep. I think, you touched on it there with the environment piece.
Mhm.
Like until you have awareness of your environment and
Yep.
what's going on, you can't really make a decision for your health because it's just like a habit.
Yep.
If you're used to that environment, you're used to that situation, you can't really see it for what it is, right?
No, of
So
course
you
not.
can't see all the different negative pieces going on if you're in that environment. You have to, once you start to take care of yourself in different aspects and you get that sense of awareness,
Right.
that's when you have the power to step back
Mhm.
and look at it from a different view and be
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, this situation isn't serving my higher good, or it's not serving the person that I want to be, the behaviors that I want to express,
Right.
or even what we even talk about. Like it's the environment change is one of the biggest components because you can't always change your environment, but
No.
you do have a choice. You do have a choice in certain situations, right? You
Mhm.
can say no to different places.
Yeah.
You can say no to, seeing maybe you have a friend that's negative a lot.
Mhm.
You can say no to hang out with them
Yeah.
all the time. You can limit it. You have
Yeah.
that power,
See, we
right?
forget that we have that power, right? Because we're like, well,
Right.
so and so will be mad at me if I don't show up to this event. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's between so and so and so and so. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that's not you. If they're mad at you, then they're mad at you. But as long as you're being honest and saying, I'm not going because, I need to sleep or whatever. Um, Honesty in that communication is vital
Vital. Yes. Honesty
in any form. Yeah.
in any form, really. I mean, my backstory a little bit is like when I was, in my drinking days, like I hid stuff.
Yeah.
Like I lied, I cheated, all of these things.
Hmm.
So now it's like I see how clearly honesty is like one of the biggest pieces for you to be okay with yourself.
Yeah.
Even it's not even with other people yet. If you can be 100% honest with yourself,
Hmm.
you're golden. Because then, when you go to say something to somebody, you're like, oh, wait, you catch yourself. You're like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. Like, I don't want to live with that. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to have to apologize for that. I don't want to have to make an amends for that.
Yeah.
None of that,
Yeah.
But honesty is huge, huge.
Yeah. Well, and I really think, can you really be the best self that you can be if you can't, or if you don't know how to communicate with people, or people don't know how to communicate with you? You just can't be your best self.
No.
And with the honesty piece, I think self-honesty, that's why self-coaching is so important.
Mhm.
Because self-honesty is hard. I don't want to admit when I'm doing wrong, right? I don't want to
Right.
admit that I feel a way about something that's maybe not the norm, why would I want to admit that? Because I need to. That's why.
Yeah.
Because if you don't admit it and you can't honestly look in the mirror and say, this is what I did, it's supposed to sting. If it's not, if it stings and you're kind of like uncomfortable with sharing that you did something, then you should probably look at that, because
Yeah.
there's a lot more to it.
Yeah. There's a lesson. There's usually a lesson in everything. Everything. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get honest with yourself and you can look yourself in the mirror and you can be okay and you can put your head down on your pillow at night knowing that you didn't hurt anybody's feelings intentionally.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything on purpose. Like there's something to be said about that.
Right.
There's something to be said about not having to cover something up.
Yep.
And not having to tell another lie to get out of the lie, to tell another lie to get out of the lie,
Yep.
which is,
and then 25 lies later, you don't know what the truth is.
Right, exactly. 100% honesty is the only way you're gonna get to avoid that.
So, and I agree. So how do we help people that are not at that stage? How do we get people like the addict, we'll say? How do we get Mary to realize that shooting up is not going to be beneficial for her, and that's sort of the hurdle that she needs to jump over before she can get to where she needs to be? Like, how do you even start that conversation?
Well, here's the thing. With addicts and with, alcoholism, whatever, that person has to admit that they need help first.
Yeah.
You can't be the person to pull somebody along on a journey if they're not ready to go on that journey. Like, so, I mean, and it's the same thing with anybody. Honestly, it doesn't even have to be about addiction or alcoholism or anything. If you have to try to force to pull somebody with you, they're not supposed to be on that journey. Somebody who's willing to put in the work to be a better human being, they're going to be ready. They're going to be willing, and they're going to be the one telling you, hey, I want to know what I need to do next to be a better person.
Right.
That person that's still in that state of they're still down, they're still relying on other things to make them feel better. They're not ready.
No.
They have to be ready in their eyes. That is the only way it'll work. Like, and taking ownership
you have to be accountable.
What is your stuff? Like what, otherwise, if you just want to keep putting that the reasons why you do things are on other people, there's never going to be that change. And that change has to happen within.
Right. And it may be that person is not good for you. And it may be that, and that's okay too. But then you're also mourning the relationship if you have to, cut ties. One thing, do you know who Medea is?
Yes.
Okay. So have you ever seen the video of her? It's on stage and she's talking about a tree and how the tree is, represents you and, your roots and so on and so forth. And there's going to be leaves that are going to fall. There's going to be ones that come back. And when you have a dead like branch, you got to let it go, right? You got to cut it off, get rid of it, because what will it do? It's going to infect the tree. Right.
Right.
So if you're not supposed to be on the tree or near the tree, go find a different tree.
Yep.
Right. Because this is not your tree.
This is not your tree. Yeah. I remember that. Yes. Yes. I think she said something about the roots too.
Yeah. She said something like, if your roots are, rotten, and please, if someone's watching this right now, sorry, haven't watched it in forever, but yeah, I think it, and it makes sense, because if the roots are rotten, well, then everything else is going to be rotten, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But if your roots are pure and it comes from a good place, then there's no space for that rottenness.
Exactly. Yes. Yes, I remember that. It's so beautifully, she says that so beautiful too. And it's true, because we do have to let people go. Unfortunately, not everybody that's in our life is going to stay in our life.
Right.
There's going to be different seasons. Obviously, we just talked about trees and leaves, different seasons of people, different things that change. Like my ex-husband and I do not speak, and it was 9 years. We knew each other for 9 years. When it's done, it's over, and it's one of those things like I've got to let it go. And it's the same thing with, friendships, old friendships that you have. Some people are meant to stay and some people are meant to go. Environments, same thing. As you grow, your environments change.
Yep.
Everything changes, right? You cannot expect, if you are on the growth path, if you want to evolve in your life, you cannot expect everything to stay the same.
No, and why would you really want it to?
No.
I mean, I get it that there's, some people are content with doing, the same routine or whatever. You have people that they've done the same job for like 20 years, and that's fine, but they're not interested in growth.
Right.
Try new things. Try things that make you uncomfortable. I didn't think that coaching was for me. It actually made me really uncomfortable at first. And then I started doing it. I'm like, yeah, this is my jam. Like, this is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah.
But it took me a while. And I had to give myself compassion. And I had to remember not to compare myself to people that have been doing it for 10 years.
Yes. Comparison. Oh, yeah. That's a big one. Comparison is hard. Imposter syndrome too. Imposter syndrome is another one. Yeah.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome is hard. And I really don't look at it as, I guess it's, for me, it's more of a self-esteem thing, right? Because like, if you feel that you cannot do something that you clearly have done before and continue to do, and you've proven that you know how to do it, but then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I can't do this. That you need to have a conversation with yourself.
Yeah.
You need to have a conversation with yourself because you were doing it all the way through and now you can't. What's changed?
Yes. Conversation with yourself, and then also somebody that you trust. Too. Like I have a coach. I have a couple coaches, but like a coach has a coach. You know what I mean? We can always use somebody else that's on the outside to remind us of what because sometimes we don't see it.
We don't.
Sometimes we get stuck in this hamster wheel up here, and we're like, I'm not doing something right. Although you've been doing the same exact thing, and you've been successful at it, like you said. I just need somebody else to be like, hello, Nicole, remember this. And I'm like, oh yeah. Duh.
I spent a long time wanting like that validation of, like, Nicole, like, you know how to do this? Come on, like, you're a rock star, and for me, it's not only validation. I mean, it's also motivation, because I want to win, right? Like, not everyone can be a winner, and there's, and it's okay that you're not number one and the best at everything. You just have to give yourself the grace to know that you're gonna make mistakes and it's okay. I still talk really bad to myself sometimes. I mean, I haven't recently, but like, it's an ongoing struggle. I spent, over 40 years being mean to myself.
Yeah.
So you had said unlearn that behavior and know when to stop it.
Yeah. And like you said, you've been doing it for so long. Like habits, once they're ingrained in us, like they take many years, right? They're not happening on a conscious level. It's happening in your subconscious. Like you don't even really know that you're doing it. Right. It's like it's like your brain's first reaction because it's the same pathway that it's had for years. And all of a sudden, like, oh, now you want to change it. Yes, absolutely. I want to change it. Like I want to talk good to myself. I want to tell myself I'm a effing rock star all the time. I didn't know 100%. If I could cuss on here, so I said
no, it's okay. I'm surprised I haven't dropped a cuss word yet, so you're cool.
Okay. Usually I've dropped enough. That's why I was like effing. But like I literally think that like how long we've been talking down to ourselves, the self-compassion really comes into play here because it's going to take you quite some time, and you're still going to do it periodically. You're just not going to do it every second or every minute or every
Right.
hour. And some days you might go without talking, saying, oh, I'm stupid or something like
Right.
that. Like it could be that small. But the point is that over time, from you practicing not talking to yourself that way,
Yeah.
you make a new neural pathway.
Right. Right. And, and when you are someone who, you know, feels that, um, growth is not necessary, and then you have someone that feels that growth is necessary, you also have to make sure that you're giving that other person compassion, because that's how they see it.
Yeah.
They see that, this is good for them. You might not,
Mm-hmm.
but they see it, and that's
Right.
okay. So, and really, for me, it goes into justification. Like, you don't have to justify why you do things,
Right.
especially if they're right. And we use the example of, well, if you're, if I'm invited to a party and I don't want to go to the party, regardless of the reason, maybe I quit drinking and I don't want to be around alcohol.
Right.
But I don't have to tell you that. The only thing I
Yeah.
have to say is, no, I'm not going to go. And if you say, well, why aren't you coming? Well, I don't really need to give you an answer. I might want to, because to, make keep the relationship intact, but I don't need to. And I think that for me was a huge ding, 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 because I have always felt that I needed to justify it because I didn't trust myself.
Yeah. 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 Well, and we hear the term all the time. No is an answer. No is an answer. Just plain no.
It's an answer.
No, it's an answer. No is an answer. Nope, not going. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
It's when we start to worry about what other people are going to think,
Yep.
why we're not going, like, well, how are they going to feel about me not going?
Yep.
It's do not make it any more about you, because
Right.
what's about you is that you don't want to go. That's
Yeah.
it.
That's it.
Fine. That's
Yeah.
it.
I mean,
But you're
anything
right.
beyond
Justification.
that, the ego pops.
Yes. Yep. Sure does. Sure does.
Man.
Oh, that ego.
That ego, I know, I'm like, man, that ego's gotten me in trouble a few times. Uh,
Mhm.
but we all have it, right? Like, we
Oh,
all
for
have
sure.
it. And because whenever you say, well, was this about me, or was that about, like, think about it. Do you really need to know if it's about you? How is that going to change you to know that someone else is about you? It's probably just going to make you feel like shit about yourself.
Yeah.
um and that's why, like, comparison is super dangerous as
Yes.
well. So I think the takeaway is just love yourself.
Yes. Yes. Love yourself. Love yourself. Give yourself compassion.
Mhm.
Forgive yourself for what you did when you did the best you could in the moment, you
Right.
know? And now it's an opportunity for you to learn from it, to
Mhm.
grow from it, and to do better next time.
Yeah.
Like most of the things that we do in our life, a lesson comes out of it,
Mhm.
or we'll keep getting that lesson until we
Until
actually
we
get
get it.
it,
Yeah.
until we actually get it. And
Mhm.
then we can respond differently, because it's about responding. It's not
Right.
about reacting,
Mm-mm.
because reacting is when you do it fast without thinking. You
Yep.
got to stop. You got to stop and pause before you respond. There's always a different way to handle situations. Always.
Right. And I think looking at, like, just from a corporate, like, shifting to corporate real quick, I think too that that's a problem as well, is people will feel um unsafe to say anything,
Mm,
and that's the environment, right? Like, they
right.
have that environment where they don't feel comfortable saying things, and that's going to cause internal issues as well.
Yeah.
And, I really sometimes don't know if people really understand, like, that it could be little traumas. You don't need to have a big, huge, gigantic trauma to be, like, to have issues or not
Right.
get better. Little traumas, like, being emotionally abused, those
Yeah.
every day, little comments. And
Yeah.
then what does it come to? Then it comes to a big, I hate myself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They add up. They stack up.
Yeah,
Little,
little traumas.
little, just like little steps go to big change, little instances like that lead to big problems. Like it's not about like just the one little one here, the one little
No,
there. It's the cumulative
right.
amount of everything. And in those situations, like if you're in that kind of environment, like A, you need awareness that you're in that kind of environment.
Yeah.
Um, and B, also like those environments are not healthy. And I wish, oh God, I wish there was a way that we could let people know that like you saying something just one time
Mhm.
puts a wrinkle in something.
Yeah.
It puts a wrinkle. You know what I mean? It's a
Mhm.
ripple effect into something else. Like I've been involved in a situation before where I spoke up,
Mhm.
and because I spoke up, I was the first person, and then there was another person months later, and
Yeah.
then they remembered that I had said something, and then it caused something to actually happen.
Yeah.
You never know when you're that one little voice. You know what I mean? Like just that small amount of bravery that you have just for saying something, it goes a long way. You may not know it in the moment and you may be scared to do it, but
Yeah.
it causes change. It will eventually cause change.
Yeah.
But those situations are they're sad. I
Yeah.
feel, it's so hard for people to be in that kind of environment where they feel small. And when
Right.
you feel small and you don't feel like you can voice your opinion or say something that's going on, like I have compassion for that. Like I wish I could just like beam them some strength and
Yeah.
be like, get out of there,
Get out of there.
or
Yeah. Well, but until they know it, they're not
yeah,
gonna do anything about it.
right.
Which I mean, we're coaches, but like we don't have all the answers because
No,
everyone's different, and what works for me might not work for you. Um,
exactly.
but some things that I say may work for you. Some things that you
Right.
say may work for me. So I think it's just that communication. Let's just be honest with one another and just um take that maliciousness out of it
Yeah. Yeah.
because there's no place.
100%. No,
There's no place.
no. And what I tell my clients, um, I can give you everything that I have experience in.
Mhm.
I will give you every piece of it that I have walked through, what I've been through. I can give you every single tool that I've used.
Mhm.
You can apply it, you can implement it. If it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, we have to find what does.
Right.
But I am not going to be the person that tells you that you have to do something one way. There
Mm-mm.
is not one way to do anything.
No.
Like you said, every person is different, every woman is different.
Oh yeah.
We all have one thing in common is that we like to put ourselves last.
Mhm.
That is something we all definitely have in common. We're
I agree.
emotional beings. We like to put ourselves last. We want to make other people feel better,
Yeah.
sacrificing ourselves, of
Yeah.
course, in the process.
Yeah.
So what I tell them, here are all the tools at your disposal. I will give you every experience I have, and then we work on what best works for you, what routine will work for you,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Yeah. And I feel like also remember that if it doesn't work, it's okay, and don't be discouraged because I feel
Mhm.
like too when you're starting on this mental health journey or coaching journey, whatever journey you're on, um you're not going to get it right the first time. And that's okay because you're essentially throwing spaghetti at the wall and just seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So once you've convinced yourself that, hey, if I do great, that's amazing. But if I don't do great, then I know what I can improve on.
Yeah.
And I think that it's that first admitting that it didn't work, or
Right.
admitting that maybe you missed something, and taking that accountability. Um, I think it definitely can go such a long way to just
Yeah.
mental health in general.
Yeah, for sure. And the accountability is there. And then there's also um the aspect like just because it doesn't work, there's no such thing as perfect. There's no such thing as perfect, right? Like, as long as you are putting your best foot forward,
Right.
as long as you are continuing to try to find what is going to work best for you, as long as you have that desire to keep fighting for what you want out of your
Right.
life, because
Right.
it is your life. And
Yeah.
you have, I mean, you have this beautiful journey, and you can go one way, you can go the other way, but there's a million different directions. As long as your goal is to continue to strive to get better, to see
Right.
what does work,
Yeah.
you're on the path to success.
Yeah.
Like, you're already doing a lot more than you were doing, say, 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's that no quit, but it's also that realization that I don't have to do this perfectly.
Mm-mm.
I can take one step today. It might be the wrong step, and I can take a different step tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
don't have to stay stuck.
and so I want to just bring comparison into there as well, because when you are, well, it worked for Nicole and it's not working for me, again, you're slipping into that and trying to get something that worked for someone else for
Mm-hmm.
you. Well, you're not them, so it's not going to work. So
Right.
you're already setting yourself up for failure without even
Mm-hmm.
really knowing about it.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's just that openness, and it's the, hey, this worked for this person. I'll try it. If it
Mhm.
doesn't work, then I gotta go try something else. It has nothing to do, not every body, like physical body, is
Yeah,
the same. You
no.
know what I mean? You have different hormone levels, you have different, your metabolism is different,
Yep.
everything is different.
Everything.
So something that works for me
Mhm.
might not work for you.
Right.
Same thing with anything else we try to do. You know what I mean? Like, you might be really good at technical stuff and I'm
Mhm.
terrible at it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know unless you try, but you can't
Yeah.
compare yourself to somebody else. If you're comparing yourself to somebody who has 5 years of consistency, you
Right.
know what I mean? You can't compare yourself to that person.
Right.
It
Exactly.
doesn't, you just started. You
Right. I mean,
cannot,
you
it
can be
doesn't have to look like,
mentored by the person. You can ask the person questions. You
right,
can develop a relationship with that person, but that's their tool. That's their journey. That's theirs.
right.
And you have your own. You just have to find
Yep. Yeah. Like I said, you just give all the knowledge that you have.
it. Hmm.
If they ask questions, you just give them what you know. And if there's other things, I always say this to the women in my group. I always say, if I don't know the answer, I don't feel comfortable answering it. I'll
Right.
say, I don't have experience in this area, but I think I might know somebody who does, and I'll get back to you.
Right.
That's usually how it works. Is I have no problem saying I don't know something. No problem.
Well, I mean, are you supposed to know everything? You're not,
No.
right? Like,
No.
you're not supposed to know everything. The only being, I guess, but at least from my perspective, would be God, the universe. Like,
Right.
that's all knowing, right? Like
That's
that's all knowing.
perfection. That's
Yeah.
perfection.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that's perfection. But really on earth, imperfection is perfection because that's the
Hmm.
way that it should be. It shouldn't be
Right.
perfect. It's not
Right.
supposed to
Exactly.
be perfect.
No. No.
Yeah. Awesome. So, do you want to go ahead and share just sort of what you can offer to any viewers that might want to come and see your, and get services from you?
Yeah. So my website's being worked on right now,
Mhm.
but I am on Instagram. It's at Nicole Rose _coach.
Okay.
And I have a link on there. I have right now, I'm the founder of Mind Sweat Academy, which is my group program for women. And it helps with building consistency for the inconsistent, obviously, in the health habits.
Yeah.
But it's also geared towards us believing in ourselves and rewiring how we have let our limiting beliefs stop us from achieving what we really want to achieve. So it's not just about the fitness aspect, because we do focus on nutrition and workouts and stuff like that, but we also focus on the mind and the mindset, because without it, your
Yeah.
body's not going to follow.
Yeah.
Without your head in the game, your body is not going to follow. So It's a 6-month program. That's enrolling right now.
Mhm.
And then I also do one-on-one coaching for the woman who wants more of a intimate experience and wants to dive into all aspects of her
Mhm.
life. So
Yeah, and I encourage anybody that is interested, you know, just call her, try it out. It's
yeah,
not for you, it's not for you. Um,
yeah,
but you'll never know until you make that first step.
exactly. Don't be shy to ask for help.
Mm-mm.
Whatever you need help in, there's always somebody out there that can help. It's just about opening your mouth and
Yeah,
saying you need help. That's it.
and open
The first
yourself.
step, open yourself.
Yeah,
Become willing to realize that you are in a place where you don't want to be anymore and you
yeah.
want to be somewhere else. You want to grow into the person that you've been wanting to become for so long. So,
And know that what you just said takes an incredible amount of strength
yes. Yes.
and
Be
bravery.
brave. Be brave.
Mhm.
Yes.
I mean, like if you are someone who's saying enough is enough, I'm not doing this anymore. You're brave for even saying it out loud.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Just saying it out loud, putting it on paper, whatever. It's not just in your mind anymore.
Yep, you're not internalizing it and you're not continuing to stack stuff
Yeah,
on top of stuff and pushing it down. You're letting it out. That's brave.
that's great.
That's
Yeah,
brave.
absolutely. Okay. Well, is there anything else that you want to share with our viewers and stuff?
Um, I would just like to share that wherever you are on your journey, regardless of where you've been, you always have the power to change it. That's it.
Do you want me to give you a mic so you can drop it?
How do I do that? Oh,
I'm
boom.
no, I
I'm
can't
like,
really
wait,
physically
what?
give you I would totally send you a mic. No, we're just gonna do the
Done.
well, this has been an incredible conversation.
Yes.
This is I guess the second time that I've really been able to talk to you, and I've really enjoyed all of our conversations. So I really appreciate you bringing your authentic self here, and really just being that force and trying to help people.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed our conversation too.
You are so welcome. Have a great rest of the week.
You too. Bye.